Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various wind here for the Bigfoot 9 Cup, a mix of the Sequoia Creek, the Greenberg Slopes and the Maple Bay. Make sure that you do hit the thumbs up button if you enjoy the content. Also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. For those of you that do want to take the next step in your game, you go to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. You do have the link in the description down below. You can also scan the QR code here on the screen. Use the info box on the right hand side to get the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, and also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there is always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. Hole number 2. This is a fun hole in my opinion, especially in tailwinds. And we're going to talk about what we can do in the stronger tailwinds. But here, when playing in the playthrough, we're playing with free-to-play balls. Therefore, we are settling with the Titan. So I'm using all the left spin that I can, which is 2 bars. And I'm also using 2 bars of top spin. Max plus 10. And once we have done that, we shall push up to a max. Using half a ball of curl together with a little bit of overpower. It's approximately 2 rings of overpower being used here. The goal is not to get as far up on the fairway. We actually want to position ourselves in a way that we can play with the sniper. This, as playing with a long iron, is very much dependent on a good ball guideline. And sure, we could play with a grizzly, but the grizzly doesn't really have that much power, which means that we're gonna aim very far back most of the time. So in this situation, I would like to play with the sniper over the Goliath. And sure, those of you play with B52 level 7 might could rethink what I just said, as the B52 does have the same power as the Goliath. Add backspin ball guideline, approximately 2 green squares short of hole in tailwind, ball guideline to the hole in crosswind, and in headwind 2 green squares through the hole, just to compensate for the extended and the compressed ball guidelines that come in tailwind and in headwind. 20% elevation is going to be all from minimum to medium to maximum distance, depending on how far you're getting your drive. And here we can see hitting a perfect ball, and it bounces on the fairway. When the camera turns around like this, I think we're gonna drop it, get in, but no, the game is giving us a little 360, which is not fun, but it happens from time to time. So hole number 2 is gonna be a tough one to get an albatross on, but there is definitely a possibility. For hole number 9, we're gonna play down on the right hand side. If we do have a headwind in any form, we're gonna play with the rock. If we do have a crosswind or a tailwind, I would recommend to play with the quarterback instead. And we're gonna use all the side spin here with our kingmaker and using 4 bars of topspin. The goal here is to get the ball to be as far down the fairway possible, because that will allow us to attack the pin on the second shot in a positive way. Adjust no elevation, maximum distance number, and then we're gonna apply curl to the right, which is gonna be 1 to 1.5 ball, depending on what wind direction we do have. And if we do have a wind right to left, I would recommend to use a little bit more, due to that wind will push the ball more left than what we want to. And you can see here we bounce down very nicely on the fairway, and now we are to around 350 yards. We want to be around 350 to 360 to attack the pin in a nice way with our sniper on the second shot. So now we're gonna attack the pin here with our sniper using 1 topspin ball guideline to be short of hole. Have in mind that this green is a bit deceiving, and what I mean with that is that it comes in hotter than what it shows us to do. So you often have to leave the ball guideline way shorter than what it normally needs, and that has always been a difficult part for me, because I'm so trained on where I should be putting my ball guideline to be the best possible rollout with the specific clubs, but this hole definitely changes that big time. 10% elevation, then whatever slider you deem it would be, It could be all from 75% to 100% of your club. A great ball to the left here is obviously not what we want, and you will notice here that a great to the left is gonna miss on the left as well, with a perfect ball gonna be very close for a drop, estimated based on how much a great left there missed. But hole number 9, tough one to end up with an albatross on, but definitely makeable. Hole number 9, now headwind of tee is not the funnest thing to have, but we are still able to play with the rock, which has a very good accuracy, and that helps us immensely when it comes to getting over to the second fairway on the left. 4 topspin and 3 left spin, starting at the +1 yard mark, red ring by the rough line, and now I'm going to adjust for max +10, P3 numbers. So adjustment is made just into overpower, so I do need to add a little bit of overpower here on the second shot. Full curl to the left, we do want to push the ball to be as far down the left side on the second fairway to be able to attack the pin by going with a rough bump. The more right we are, the further away from the pin we will be, and that's obviously going to complicate things, especially if we do have a little headwind. Now, for the second shot, we're going to use the sniper and we're going to do a rough bump. Here, obviously, if you do not have a sniper in level 9 or 10, or even, I would say, lowest level 8, then you either just play for an eagle or you choose another club that gives you more topspin, because the topspin here is the trick. We do want to have the ball guideline to go through the hole in headwind. In tailwind, we do want to have the ball guideline to go just to the hole instead. Adjustment here is true distance minus 5% elevation. So whatever club distance you have, then that's going to be the adjustment you're going to use as slider. Center the ball, hit perfect. And you can see here that I'm using a little bit of overpower, and the reason I do that is due to the headwind. So to compensate and not having to push up, then I'm using the overpower. So it zooms out very nicely and it looks good. Maybe we can get it to drop. We can. Right at pin for a beautiful albatross here on hole number 9. This one is not an easy one to drop, but that rough bump there is definitely giving us a good chance. Hole number 3 is going to be a fairly boring par 5, especially if we do not have the possibility to bounce over the water. You can see here now that with this type of wind and with a club such as Apocalypse level 5 or better, you would have the possibility to clear the water. So, but in this case, with Apocalypse level 4 and just an angled tailwind, that's going to be a stretch in my opinion. So what I would recommend here is that if you do have a tailwind, or a crosswind for that matter, you can play with the rock, otherwise use the extra mile. The goal here is to get the ball to be as close to the rough at the top possible, and just to take it easy. We don't want to risk anything and go into the rough. Max +20 is what we're doing, and then trying to hit perfect. Obviously a great left or a great right will not be as good, but it should still be fine. Like, we have a lot of room on the fairway, and once again the only goal we have here is to position us as close to the rough possible to then have an open shot towards the green. So if you do not have the possibility to go over the water, this is only going to be played as an eagle and run play. You can obviously be lucky clipping the rough with the second bounce and roll it into the hole, but that, I would say, is gonna be not impossible, but very, very difficult, especially if you don't have a good ball guideline to use. So here I'm adjusting max +10. I'm pushing up a little bit because I was a little bit short of my target position, and then getting the ball to bounce on the fairway into the rough to roll down towards the green. You can see coming in a little bit hot, but there is room to roll hot here and just sit there for a nice and safe eagle. So once again, if you do have the possibility to clear the water with a drive, then we do that. Then we do have a long iron towards the pin. Not that I'm saying that that's going to be an easy shot to drop, but it's still going to be a chance to drop. I would say having to lay up, which will be the more common way to play, then it's an eagle, and then it's an eagle and then move on to the next hole. Hole number 9, and here I wanted to display a shot in headwind. You may be wondering why. It's because headwind is gonna be the toughest way of playing this hole, and here we're gonna have to use a power fireball, especially if we do have lower level clubs, because we do want to get down on the left hand side, because that's the only way for us to get a chance for the albatross. So I'm adjusting max plus 10 and going max overpower, and the driver choice should be to choose the driver that gives you the most power and topspin together, because in headwind you can use as much topspin possible and still go max overpower, and you will still be safe. Because the goal is to get past the trees on the right hand side, to have the trees not being in play when you're going to attack the pin here. Now luckily we do have wind coming left to right here, and then the side spin 1 here is not the end of the world, but it would obviously be better to have more than one backspin here, sorry, more than one right spin, to put ourselves away a little bit more from the rough line. 10% elevation, true club distance numbers, so I'm playing this one max plus 10. This is going to, however, be a very tough par 5 to drop. And I would say an alternative way of playing would be to go for the rough bump that is just above the bunker, which is a small strip of rough, I know that, but it's definitely going to be a way of attacking the pin a little bit better than having to play here on the side. Unfortunately, a great left there, and even if we would be having the speed enough, we would probably miss left hand side. A perfect would have been pretty darn close. So I'm suggesting a berserker ball in the info box there, just to give ourselves the 2 bars of right spin. I'm using the gridiron ball here on that account because I actually don't have any circs when I was playing that video. So in the end, hole number 9 in headwind are difficult. In tailwind we play the same way, crosswind we play the same way, but then the drive is going to be easier, and then the attack towards the pin is going to be a bit easier too. Hole number 6 is probably gonna be the most boring hole that we do have of the Greenberg slopes. The reason for that is that even if we do have a tailwind, it's gonna be very difficult to get ourselves to a spot where the albatross is going to be a decent chance. So here, play with a power 3 ball minimum. Either the Titan or the Kingmaker, as I'm playing here on the screen. Those of you having the possibility to play with a power 4 or a power 5 ball could simplify this drive much more by then reducing the overpower, because with a power 3 ball in headwind we're gonna have to play with around 3 to 4 bars of not bars, but 3 to 4 rings of overpower. Maximum distance plus 10 is the adjustment, and the goal is to get the ball down here on the fairway. You rather want to be more on the right side than on the left side of this fairway, because the fairway from the right side is having a slope that slopes right to left, so it's a little bit better to be on that side, because that will be less riskier of rolling into the rough, because if rolling into the rough you're gonna have a very difficult time to get to the green into. Now, second shot, you can see that we're having the Cataclysm here, and here the side spin of the Kingmaker is definitely a valuable stat, but it's not gonna be the end of the world if you don't have it, because you still have the curl on your club. But here is the goal to judge the speed correct. Now we're not going for pin at all, so we do have, we do have a lot of room there on the green. So we do want to get the ball to roll on the fairway down towards the green and end up to be a simple putt. If you do use too much curl, you will put the bunkers in play, and that's just totally unnecessary to do so. So this is a perfect way of executing this safe shot down towards the green to lock in the eagle. Because hole number 6, once again, won't really be an albatross attempt if we are not having tailwind off tee. Hole number 5, and here we do have a headwind, and when we do have a headwind we do want to use a club that gives us a lot of curl, and the reason we do want curl is due to the fact that we do want to push the ball over to the fairway island on the left. I'm using my Apocalypse here, starting at the top of plus 10. Adjustment is going to be max plus 10, power 4, as we're using a power 4 ball. Once we have adjusted, we push up to max, and then we will be applying all the curl we can to the left and with no overpower. If you would like to play with a power 3 ball here, you can do that too, such as a Kingmaker or a Titan even for that matter. The only difference would be that you would have to have a lot of overpower on your shot, because you would obviously be having less power than what we do have with this ball. If we do have a tailwind, we do recommend to play with a power 5 ball, trying to bounce with the first bounce on the fairway island over the rough and leave us a short iron towards the pin. Unfortunately, I do not have a video of that. I will have a video of that in the master playthrough, so make sure to, once that is out, to check that if you do want to see a reference. Now, when we are on the fairway pad there, we are going to play with the Guardian in this instance, and the reason I'm picking the Guardian is to make sure that even if we fall short on our drive, we're not getting the rollout like that we did, then we can still reach for the rough bump here. If we would make sure that we do get a rollout every single time, then we do have the sniper that we can play with. I decide to go directly at the pin here. There is a way of bouncing more in the rough and use the slope on the back of the green to fall back. There is a little bit of a funnel there, and something to have in mind if you do want to go that way. 10% elevation, 2 club distance numbers, and we're looking to, once again, we're looking to bounce into the rough, roll up onto the green, and we're getting this one to go very close to dead center for an albatross with a tough wind on a tough hole such as hole number 5. For hole number 2, we're gonna play an NMT, meaning that we are not touching our target until it's time to adjust the rings. I would say if having a crosswind and a tailwind, this way of approaching the drive is definitely the best way, but in headwind we do recommend to play with a driver with more power, as otherwise you will have to play with a lot of overpower. Max plus 20. Using 3 topspin and a little bit of left spin. All the parts combined here. The goal is to get ourselves as far up the fairway possible and being as close to the rough on the right without obviously endangering rolling in to the rough there on the right side. Now we are positioned perfectly with our Kingmaker to attack the pin for the second shot. Now, second shot, we do have a crosswind. I would recommend to use approximately 2 bars of topspin, and then we're going to look for the second bounce into the rough with the ball guideline pointing towards the hole. And you can see that there, ball guideline is not pointing towards those, actually going into the hole. 10% elevation, and then it's true club distance number. Here I am not exactly sure, but I do adjust around 9 rings for this shot. Center the ball and hit perfect, and a perfect ball here will give us a decent chance for an albatross here on hole number 2. I would say hole number 2 here is not going to be a must drop, but it's going to be a possibility, which is what we're looking for on hole 2. Even if you would be having a straight tailwind of tee, we recommend to not go over the water in the rough, because that will most likely end up to be a harder position to attack the pin than what we do have here, playing a shorter, simpler drive and then the sniper towards the pin on the second shot. Sequoia Creek, hole number 6. So we are going to use our quarterback to start with, because we're going to look into having the first bounce on the fairway to then start over to bounce into the rough and roll out. Obviously, the quarterback is a perfect club when we do play in tailwind, but when it is crosswind and when it is headwind, I do recommend to play with an extra mile or with an apocalypse or with a Thor's hammer instead, and therefore I do have the extra mile suggested in the info box to the right. Max plus 20 is the adjustment using half a ball of curl to the right. And you can notice as well that I'm using a power 5 ball. The reason for a power 5 ball is to give us a possibility to play with our sniper on the second shot if we do get the distance enough. And now you're seeing that I do suggest a Cataclysm here on the second shot, and that's because if you're not having Sniper in level 9 or level 10, then it's going to be the Cataclysm or the Big Dog to ensure that you do have the distance. But once again, if you do have the correct club, and you get the correct distance of T, then the Sniper is definitely the far superior club due to its ball guideline, because we do want to be able to aim with the ball guideline towards the pin for the best chance for an Albatross, because now with the Cataclysm it becomes unfortunately too much guesswork, and me missing it to the left could be just due to me aiming too far left as not having the fully developed ball guideline to follow. 20% elevation on the second shot, and it's going to be somewhere between medium and maximum distance. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various wind here for the Bigfoot 9-hole Cup, a mix of Sequoia Creek, Greenberg Slopes and Maple Bay. Make sure to take the next step in your game by getting any of our Ultimate Tournament Guide packages or exclusive Tour Text Guide packages by scanning the QR code on the screen, or just go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Link is in the description down below. You can start as little as $2.50. Thank you so much everybody for watching, and a good luck in your Golf Clash game.